Check 1, 2, mic check. Mic looks hot. I'm seeing green on the screen. Lets me know it's time to get mean and do some studying time. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. If this is your first time joining, hello, my name is Jesse J, aka the Cosmic Cowboy, and I enjoy helping people study for certifications, especially when they're doing it at the same time that I am. I enjoy study groups. One of the things that I have built up over time is a community-driven initiative to help folks break into cybersecurity by earning their certifications, whether it's Security Plus and now the CySA Plus. Also going to move on to other certs, but that's where we're at today, is studying some CySA Plus. So without further ado, welcome to the stream. Let's thank our session sponsor and get right into questions so that we can have an efficient study session, shall we? Drop a line in chat if you're watching. Let me know where you're coming from, how your journey's going so far, maybe some of the areas of the CySA Plus that you'd like to work on. We will be doing live PBQs and all kinds of things, but this is a lunchtime power session. For me, lunchtime, 2 p.m. Eastern time, I go live and we do a power session. So let's get into it. And 3, 2, 1. Each and every episode of Cert Plus is proudly brought to you by Simply Cyber's Daily Cyber Threat Brief. Dr. Jerry Ozier, with over 20 years of industry experience, spanning multiple sectors of our industry, brings his hot takes and industry knowledge Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. We're going over industry trends, attacks, vulnerabilities, what's going on, how to build mentorship. You don't want to miss it. It's an awesome community atmosphere, and who knows, it could change your life. So thank you to your continued support. And with that, let's get into our question of the day. Here we go. Let's make sure this is the question of the day. Let's refresh this. I think it is. It is. If the scope is unchanged, how is the CVSS base score calculated? A, well, you can see the metrics there. I'll go over this one myself because I'm not going to read all that aloud. That's a lot. I'm going to go with that one just because. Yeah, let's go. That one was luck. I need to work on that. I'm not 100%. I thought there was, I was torn between A and D on that one. Let's get into some official test questions. In one of my previous episodes, I went ahead and did a mock test to see where my weak areas are, as I have about 30 days to take the CySA Plus. And as it turns out, Domain 3 Incident Response Management, I had some weak areas in. And so as part of our curriculum, we do targeted study, and that is what we're going to do today. A security analyst at a software development company must identify network threats. They recently discovered a misconfigured server. What should the analyst focus on to secure network and system architecture? A, monitoring network traffic. B, assessing attack stage and web application vulnerabilities. C, implementing industry best practices, or D, investigating physical security measures. Tech Ricky, what is up, my brother? Good to see you. We are live for our lunchtime study session. It is a kind of a dreary day outside here in Western Colorado. A security analyst at a software development company must identify network threats. They recently discovered a misconfigured server. What should the analyst focus on to secure network and system architecture? A, monitor network traffic. B, assess attack stage and web application vulnerabilities. C, implement industry best practices. Or D, investigate physical security measures. Well, you know the routine. We read the question, make sure we know what it's asking of us. And then typically as we're reading the question, our brain should be a couple steps ahead, formulating some keywords, some domains, some ideas, some principles, some concepts. We should be identifying those as we're reading the question. Then we look at the answers, identify a couple to you that stand out as being absolute waste of time. And then you'll be left with one or two that are compete for being the correct answer. And from that, make sure you're just answering the question within the confines of what CompTIA is asking you. I've said this before, just a little bit of exam strategy. Sometimes the correct answer regarding what is done in the real world is going to be different than a textbook answer. Don't let that trip you up. Don't let that hang you up to the point where if you see something that could be a textbook type answer, but you're going, but there's something else that there's no way that's it. CompTIA is going to test you on what they expect you to know from their body of material. Don't get hung up on the small stuff, truly. So we know that we're on a misconfigured server and we're looking to identify network threats. That's our mission. We discovered the misconfigured server and we need to identify some network threats. Investigating physical security measures probably aren't going to do anything. Monitoring network traffic is definitely part of it. They recently discovered a misconfigured server. Assessing attack stage and web application vulnerabilities is important. This question is pretty vague. And then Tech Ricky put in chat, implementing industry best practices, which kind of answers all of them, in my opinion. Zahara, welcome back to the chat. Good to see you. Welcome back to the party. I'm not going to miss me anymore. I added you on my calendar. Excellent. Every day at noon, unless I'm traveling. I'm traveling a little bit this weekend, but then we'll be back. But yeah, every day at noon, Mountain Time, 2 p.m. Eastern, power study sessions. Implement best practices. We were incorrect on that one, Ricky. We'll have to go back. I was thinking it's probably monitoring network traffic, A. Whoa, that's cool. Oh, just that feature. A cybersecurity analyst at a large organization is working on improving their techniques for identifying malicious activity in the company's network. The analyst is considering several methodologies and frameworks to help them achieve this objective. What actions should the analyst prioritize to enhance their ability to detect and respond to potential threats? A. Implement network traffic analysis and threat hunting. B. Deploy additional firewalls throughout the network. C. Implement stronger password policies. Or D. Conduct regular pen testing of web applications. Just to confirm, every day, including weekends at 2 p.m. and Friday at 5. Yep, Friday at 5. Eastern time with Tech Ricky sitting, helping me with the ones and the twos, navigating the practice questions and building community. Yeah, that previous one was vague, Rick. I agree. A cybersecurity analyst at a large organization is working on improving their techniques for identifying malicious activity on their company's network. The analyst is considering several methodologies and frameworks to help them achieve this objective. Methodologies and frameworks. What should we prioritize? Implementing network traffic analysis and threat hunting. Yeah, Sebastian, I'm going to go with A on that one as well. It's pretty straightforward, I think. Good to see you. Returning student. Tech Ricky also going with A. Zahara going with A. All right, I get it. Let's do it. Excellent, team. Moving on. A security analyst must identify and assess web application vulnerabilities. Which of this following frameworks is best suited for the task? A. Cyber Kill Chain. B. OWASP Testing Guide. C. The Diamond Model of Intrusion Analysis. Or D. MITRE ATT&CK Framework. Again, a security analyst must identify and assess web application vulnerabilities. Which of the following frameworks is best suited for this task? A. The Cyber Kill Chain. B. The OWASP Testing Guide. C. The Diamond Model of Intrusion Analysis. Or D. MITRE ATT&CK. Throw your answer in chat. Who's going to Simply CyberCon this year, folks? Miss Wolverine, welcome back to the party. Good to see you in class. Yeah, Sebastian, Miss Wolverine, OWASP Testing Guide stands out to me. Correct, team. Moving on. A security analyst needs to identify vulnerabilities in the organization's network infrastructure. They need to understand the stages of an attack and use a comprehensive testing methodology that considers the context of the vulnerabilities. Which of the following should the analyst use to effectively achieve these goals? A, the diamond model of intrusion analysis. B, cyber kill chain. C, open source security testing methodology manual. D, Open Web Application Security Project Testing Guide, or OWASP. It's a relatively thick question. A security analyst needs to identify vulnerabilities in the organization's network infrastructure. Okay, so we know it's not web application, it's not specifically cloud, it's not specific to endpoint. We're just saying in the organization's network infrastructure. We need to understand the stages of an attack. Okay, cyber kill chain does that, and use a comprehensive testing methodology that considers the context of the vulnerabilities. To my knowledge, the cyber kill chain does not do that. So that rules out that. We're talking about network security, as we see in the question here. So if we're looking at our answers that were given, open the web OWASP testing guide does not satisfy. So we're left with two, either the diamond model of intrusion analysis or C, the open source security testing methodology manual. Okay, I'm going to put this out here on the record. I'm going to go with C because my classmates are telling us to go with C, which is the open source security testing methodology manual. If I remember correctly from yesterday and the previous lesson on OSSTMM, and I could be wrong, does it consider, oh yeah, a comprehensive testing methodology. Yeah, that's going to be it. You're right, class. For the record, I agree with class. Correct. Whew. Thank you, past Jesse, for thinking. All right, let's review our incorrect question. This is probably one that we got incorrect yesterday. A security analyst at a financial institution is responsible for identifying active threats to the organization's network. The analyst uses the OSSTMM and the OWASP testing guide to monitor and analyze these threats effectively. The analyst receives an alert about a potential spear phishing attack targeting employees. When using these methodologies to assess the situation, what should the analyst's primary focus? We went with implementing security controls based on OSTMM recommendations. And the correct answer was identifying threat actors and potential vulnerabilities. And that's pretty straightforward. When using these methodologies, what should the analyst's primary focus? Identifying threat actors and potential vulnerabilities. There could be a lot of implementing security controls based on the OSTMM recommendations. This is specific to around the potential spear phishing attack, so I see how that answer we got incorrectly. All right. We went with, and this is the one we just answered, implementing industry best practices. Tech Ricky mentioned that question was vague. I'll repeat the question. A security analyst at a software development company must identify network threats. They recently discovered a misconfigured server. What should the analyst focus on to secure network and system architecture? The options were monitoring network traffic, A. B, assessing attack stage and web application vulnerabilities. C, implementing industry best practices. Or D, investigating physical security measures. We as a class quickly identified that investigating physical security measures was not the correct answer because we were talking about network threats, not physical threats. Monitoring network traffic is important. We discovered this misconfigured server on the back end though. And so implementing best practices was the idea we went with. The correct answer was assessing the attack stage. Where are they in a cyber kill chain? Or maybe using the diamond intrusion analysis model. And then looking at our web app vulnerability reports and seeing where we're at to see where those would align at that nexus of, hey, are we hackable? And what is the probability we're going to get hacked or that we've been hacked? Oh, review correct answers. I'm good. Here we go. Here's some fresh questions, I believe. Moving on. A security analyst needs to identify vulnerabilities in the organization's network infrastructure. They need to understand the stages of an attack and use a comprehensive testing methodology that considers the context of the vulnerabilities. Which of the following should the analyst use to effectively achieve these goals? CompTIA really, with this Cert Master practice, likes to throw you almost the exact same question, reworded. This one, I believe, we've already been asked this. A security analyst needs to identify vulnerabilities in the organization's network infrastructure. They need to understand the stages of an attack and use a comprehensive testing methodology that considers the context of the vulnerabilities. Which of the following should the analyst use to effectively achieve these goals? Open source security testing module, right? Cyber Shinigami, good to see you. Cyber Shinigami going with answer B. Incorrect. We got to get our sound effects set up. I believe because we're looking at the comprehensive testing methodology, the correct answer would have been C, I believe. It'll make sure we know it. We're almost done. A security analyst at a software development company is responsible for identifying potential threats to the organization's network. The analyst recently discovered a misconfigured server. Okay, that's the one we read, the misconfigured server one. And we want to determine the stage of the possible attack and assess the web application vulnerabilities for review. Miss Wolverine going back, yeah, I believe the answer was C, the previous answer. Purple. Here we go. A financial institution's security analyst must discover any active threats to the network. The analyst relies on OSTMM and OWASP testing guide to effectively monitor and analyze these threats. After receiving an alert regarding a potential spear phishing attack, what should be the analyst's initial priority when evaluating the situations? I remember this one got us as well. A, evaluating the organization's web applications for security vulnerabilities. B, assessing the company's security protocols and procedures. C, implementing security measures recommended by the OSSTMM. Or D, detecting threat markers and weaknesses. What do we think on this one, class? So I'm a security analyst. I got to discover active threats to a network. I rely on the OSTMM and the OWASP testing guide to effectively monitor and analyze these threats. I get an alert that says there is a potential spear phishing attack. What should be my priority when evaluating this situation? Should I A, evaluate the organization's web applications for security vulnerabilities? Should I B, assess the company's security protocols and procedures? Should I C, implement security measures recommended by the OSSTMM? Or should I D, detect threat markers and weaknesses? I see Cyber Inigami has put answer D in chat. I'll wait to see if anybody else has a different answer while I take a sip of water and assess what I think is the correct answer, which may be D, maybe it's E, maybe it's F, maybe it's J, K. Zahara is also going with D. Detecting threat markers and weaknesses. We rely on this. We've already got the alert. Do we evaluate the organization's web applications for security vulnerabilities? I don't know. We have an alert. I think we're past that, right? We're almost nearing boom. If not to the right of boom, this may or may not be boom. We don't know. But I'm with the rest of the class. Let's go with detect threat markers and weaknesses. That is correct. Here's one that we're reviewing that we got incorrect a couple minutes ago. A security analyst needs to identify vulnerabilities in the organization's network infrastructure. They need to understand the stages of an attack and use a comprehensive testing methodology that considers the context of the vulnerabilities. Which of the following should we use? We went with Diamond Model of Intrusion Analysis. The correct answer was the open source. And I think the key word that we're looking for here is this comprehensive testing methodology. We're going to review some slides when we're done with quizzes here, and then we'll call it a day. The security analyst at a software development company must identify network threats. They recently discovered a misconfigured server. What should the analyst focus on to secure the network and system architecture? I remember that one we got wrong the first time. We went with industry best practice, and we want to assess the attack stage and web application vulnerabilities. Okay, they're drilling that one into us, aren't they? This is the one that we also got wrong, where the correct answer should have been the OSTMM. This was the one that referred to the security analyst that used the OSTMM to monitor and analyze for threats effectively. We received an alert again about spear phishing. Using the methodologies, what should be our primary focus? We don't want to review companies and policy and procedures. We don't want to conduct a pen test. This is a live pen test. We have a phishing alert, right? We're actively being attacked by this spear phishing attack that's targeting employees. We want to identify the threat indicators and potential vulnerabilities to see if there's a nexus there and an indicator of compromise. And if we have vulnerabilities within our environment, if they meet in the middle, then we might have that compromise. I'm going to look for that. Great. You answered all those questions correctly. We still in 3.1? We are. Final question, and then we're going to get into some slides, and we'll probably call it a day for this 30-minute lunch power half hour. A security analyst needs to identify vulnerabilities in the organization's network infrastructure. They need to understand the stages of an attack and use a comprehensive testing methodology that considers the context of the vulnerabilities. Which of the following should the analyst use to effectively achieve these goals? We got it. No, we got it. Yes. All right. So we're good on objective 3.1. So we have been successfully quizzed. It took us a minute. Oh, cool. It tells you how many. Can you reset your progress? I wonder. Cool. So we went through all these questions that you see here, 22 total. We got all of them correct. It took us a minute to get there. So good job, team. That'll do it for 3.1 as far as the domain objectives go. Let's see where they got us at 3.1. So today we covered, or the last couple of days, we covered everything in this 3.1. Good game, team. Let me get some parting slides dialed up so we can study for 3.2 and other things moving forward. I want to make sure I don't have any doxable info there. Let's go full screen. Reading view. We already did those slides. Let's do a quick review. If you want to stay for the practice questions, have a great day. If you're watching on Team Replay and you missed the first few episodes on effective ways to study, stick around. If not, you find value, hope you have a great day and a safe one. We're going to stick around and go through some review slides, and then I'm going to call it a day. One of the documented ways that helps reduce your study time and helps provide an efficient method to learning and retaining this material quickly so that you can put it back out on test day is to do something where you take a full mock exam of some kind, whether it's the CompTIA ones, the ones that are provided in the book, I think are pretty good in the CySA Plus book. I think there's like $30. You can usually get these relatively inexpensive. Whatever you want to use. Find a practice test that competently quizzes you. Use multiple sources after you've identified your weak areas. Using multiple sources to target those, quiz yourself, and repeat till you're getting 90% on the total of the exam, and then typically you're good to go to take that on exam day. Step 2, the targeted study of all of the exam content. You want to take 80% of that content and put it towards the weak areas, with that remaining 20% being review of your competent or already strong areas. You talked about the cyber kill chain, each step of how it outlines from beginning to end of a compromise, from reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command, control, and then action on objectives. We went through the MITRE attack framework and its ability to assign unique identifiers to different techniques, tactics, and procedures that we can later use to correlate and have a threat file of known threat groups. We discussed secure coding, specifically input validation, output encoding, perimeterized queries, data protection, and session management, and how they can impact our application security and our organization security. I will make these slides available to everybody. We ended this little part when it came to security, talking about data protection and session management. We moved on into the diamond model of intrusion analysis. Remember, this is where we talk about the threat actors, the adversary, that's what they call them, is the adversary's capability, their infrastructure, combine that with the victim to get a threat profile. We then went into the OSTMM, where we did an overview. And this, I had very little knowledge of this one coming in. What is the OSTMM, why it matters, and some study takeaways. Feel free to take a screenshot of these slides. Thanks, Ricky. I appreciate it. Remember that OSTMM spans both human and technical security domains. This is why we use it. And remember, when you see that word, the OSTM helps analysts test security, right? We had never heard of the OSTM. Yeah, right, Ricky? We'd never heard of the OSTMM before this. Not even really in passing. It's not something that's talked about. Where can we get the slides? I'm finishing them up, and then I'll put them into a repository, and then I'll have people DM me, and I'll give them a link, because they'll be freely available, but I don't just want to have something sitting. I want it to be accessible, but I guess relatively secure. And I haven't really ever done the Dropbox thing for public use. So if somebody has a suggestion on how I can make these slides really, you know what, I can do a GitHub repo. I think I'll do a GitHub repo, and I'll make these publicly available. It helps security. So that methodically, when you see methodically come up, that's, remember, in our, I think it was these practice questions. I can't remember which one it was, but we kept seeing they wanted that methodical testing guide. And that's what kept us going back to the OSTMM. And then coming up, we're going to get into incident response tools and resources. We touched base on this. We haven't quite started quizzing on it yet, but this is from 3.2. We start talking about incident response planning, and we left, and this is where we're going to leave off today. We're going to get through these slides. We talked about incident detection and analysis, Our SIM or SIEM platform and its ability to collect, correlate, and analyze the data, detect. The key roles of the SIEM, and you've probably have been in the industry long enough to know what these do and their use case for your organization. They collect and analyze security data, identify suspicious patterns and anomalies, and generate real-time alerts supporting rapid investigation and response, right? It correlates everything into one central platform. Your network devices, your servers, application logs, IDS, IPS logs, EDR, anti-malware logs, it provides dashboards, investigation. You can query events, identify compromises much more efficiently. How a SIM supports detection analysis, correlation and anomaly detection, real-time alerts, visualizations, historical analysis. One of the key challenges that is outlined is a SIM can generate a large number of alerts that must be manually assessed for priority and investigation. Here's some common indicators of compromise, which obviously we'll talk more about as we move on into the lessons. If you want to get a slide of those, I'm not going to read them all out loud individually, but feel free to take a screen cap and review. Here's some direct detection methods and some analysis challenges, right? The SIM and the IDS foundation, we know the threats are easier to identify. User-reported issues. Unknown threats may evade detection. Threat hunting, separate false positives from true indicators. And historical log review, not every alert means it's an incident. We can see a lot of false positives. That detection engineering is so important. Analyst mindset, early detection is difficult, so analysts must validate alerts carefully and identify suspicious activity as early as possible. Some of our response mechanisms and methods. IOC or indicator of compromise is detected. The SIM takes the log analysis. It gets prioritized by severity, critical, high, whatever your company uses. Then we investigate on a highest priority alerts. Do not process alerts by arrival order. You may have a critical that arrived, I don't know how, I'm just going to say time, 5 minutes ago, and then you get inundated with informational lows and mediums. Obviously, you want to investigate that critical first because it may or may not have critical impact to the business, but it's being flagged as a critical. Do your due diligence, investigate the critical. If you need to recast it as less severity, go for it, but or escalate. And then the key thing in our response mechanisms to understand is that severity and business impact are going to drive the triage. How severe is it? Is it A, going to impact human life and limb, or is it B, going to impact business? And if it does, that's how we're going to triage, right? Here are some common indicators of compromise: account and access clues, privileged accounts used unexpectedly, things that we kind of as investigators and security operators have come to understand. Maybe a high volume of invalid password attempts, unexpected remote access activity. Moving on, we see network and traffic, IOCs, atypical, so uncommon inbound or outbound traffic, sudden spikes in database or DNS traffic, that's not good. High volume of requests to a single file, data exfil maybe. System host and clues, unusual registry or system file changes, unknown applications, processes, or services. Incredibly important, asset inventory baselining and getting rid of as much tech debt as possible is something that can help reduce many of these in the system and host clues, that is. Suspicious scheduled tasks and unexpected encrypted files. And then moving on, finally, location and data clues, traffic from countries where the organization has no business, compressed files in unusual locations, and unauthorized changes to the system or device settings, alerts from your IDS, IPS, or firewalls. Remember, the IOCs can appear in accounts, hosts, networks, data locations, and security tool alerts. And at the end of the day, you can only hack 3 things: people, processes, or technology. I'm going to leave off. When we jump back into domain 3, we will go probably right back in here, security automation. I'm hungry. I've been working like a madman, preparing some reports and doing some investigating. And now we've studied. I'm starving. Many of you are ready to eat lunch or take a break. I hope you enjoyed today's study session. Feel free to return. I'll be here tomorrow. I might have a pre-recorded video tomorrow. I'm getting a haircut, some trimmed up at noon, which is when I normally stream. Either way, I hope you have a wonderful day. And until we see each other again, take care of each other and stay secure. Cheers.